Shalom, everyone. In this video, I just wanted to present my first book, which I wrote a few years ago, in which I included much of the holy mysteries and a lot of divine revelation that was not just revealed to me, but was actually taught to me by Mashiach and his bride Shekhinah. And so, in this book, which I consider to be a very advanced, scholarly, very, very, very scriptural book, I present all of these scriptural proofs and seals for a lot of these holy mysteries and restorations of the ancient theosophy of Abraham that I reveal in this book. So essentially, the title of my book is Restoration of the Word of Adonai, or in its Aramaic name is Tikkun Memra, which is restoration of the word. And essentially, in this book, it's basically a restoration of the ancient theosophy of Abraham on a number of points, dealing not just with Christianity, but with Judaism. So some of the major errors of Judaism and Christianity are corrected in this book. I have the link to purchase the book below in my description. And I will start off by saying that, yes, it has 1 star because, some jackass Orthodox Jew, decided to give my book a really bad review because, whoever this Orthodox Jew is, he's clearly a profane and very uninitiated Orthodox Jew, who's obviously very anti-Yeshua. So it happens, we holy adepts, initiates, and saints, the true Illuminati of Elohim, are always despised and rejected and scorned by the masses and by much of the children of Elohim, right? The holy ancient prophets were despised and scorned by Israel. Mashiach ben Yosef was despised, scorned, and killed by Israel. Some of the most initiated Kabbalists, like Abraham Abulafia and Ramchal, were also excommunicated and scorned by Israel. And I, of course, am no exception. It's really sad. So I thought I would take you through the table of contents just to briefly explain some of the things that I cover in my book. So, chapter 1 is just basically outlining some essential basic principles of the mystical Kabbalah, some of the methods and constructs of it, to, properly interpret the scriptures and unlock the mysteries in the scriptures. Chapter 3 deals with the holy divine royal bloodline, which stems from Yehuda, and it goes in reconciling and correctly identifying some of the key figures in that bloodline, in which I state certain holy mysteries that are not really known by really any Jews or Christians for that matter. In chapter 4, I reveal the great Kabbalistic mystery of the Israeli bloodline and how it ties in with Christianity. Chapter 5 is Holy Divine Revelation and the beginning of the Hebrew Day, which you won't find really anywhere else. So I want to say there are some holy mysteries that are presented in this book that you're not going to find anywhere else on the internet or on certain websites or things of that sort. Some of this holy revelation some of the holy mysteries that I present in this book have been sealed for over a couple thousand years, if not less. Okay, chapter 6 is on the true Shabbat, which if you've seen my videos on Shabbat, much of what's presented in those videos is presented in this chapter, but in a much more formalized, scholarly fashion. Chapter 8 is a defense of the Feast of Shavuot, because there are some heretical Messianic Jewish groups that have twisted and misunderstood the proper celebration and date of this festival. Chapter 9 reveals the correct pronunciation of the Tetragrammaton with all of the proofs, which is not really known by anyone these days. I don't really know hardly anyone that knows what the true pronunciation is, as it is given in this chapter and presented in this chapter and proven in this chapter. And then chapter 11 deals with reincarnation and the revolution of the ants. So it's a very highly Kabbalistic chapter. Chapter 12 deals with some of the mysteries behind the teraphim and a much more advanced, correct understanding of what the teraphim are. Chapter 13 is a very critical chapter that deals with the reconciliation of the antinomies that are contained in Sefer Yechezkel, because there are some very, very, very highly perspicacious and intellectual secular Jews that have correctly brought out the most major and grave contradictions in the Old Testament, most of which are found in the book of Ezekiel. And in this chapter, I reconcile those contradictions. totally shutting down and disproving and confuting and refuting these highly intellectual secular Jews that don't fully understand what's going on, in regards to these antinomies. In chapter 14 and 15, I give the correct theosophy behind the oblations, and I go into detail on the mysteries and matters behind the temporary suspension of the oblations for the past 2,000 years. Chapter 17 deals with the true identity of who Michael is, which, yes, there are some advanced Christians that know who he is, but in this chapter, I give many scriptural proofs revealing and demonstrating who really Michael is. And then chapter 18 is some divine revelation regarding the Antichrist that was given to me through a very powerful prophetic dream that I had many years back. Chapter 19 is a highly, highly Kabbalistic chapter. It's probably the most Kabbalistic chapter in the entire book that deals with the holy mysteries behind the forbidden fruit. And then chapter 20 is restoration of the famous great primeval sacred seal with some very mystical proofs presented in it. And so that's just a general outline of some of the chapters in my book and some of the holy mysteries and subjects that are presented in my book. So, if you really want to get into the holy truth, and you really want to begin your holy initiation, this is a great book to begin that process. Now, I will end the video by stating that this is a very, very humble book, and it has a very humble appearance, and yes, the formatting may not be the nicest, and there might even be a couple of spelling mistakes here and there. It's a very, very humble book, and but nevertheless, it contains numerous pearls of holy mysteries, knowledge, and wisdom in it. And so this makes the book just absolutely spiritually invaluable. And so, I just want to emphasize that this is a very humble book, and you'll more than understand when you get the book. And basically, it goes back to one of my favorite parables, which my wife's father once told me, which has to do with the king. The parable has to do with a very powerful, handsome king, very wealthy, powerful king, who wanted to marry this very beautiful woman who was to be his queen. And he had to present himself to her. And he didn't want to present himself in his true state, in his true appearance, because he didn't want, he didn't want her or any of the other women that he was trying, to get a queen from, like him for his wealth and for being a king and everything that comes with being a king. So what he did was he disguised himself as a very scornful, poor, rejected type of man, to test the woman's love, to see if his true queen would love him, even in this state of poverty and abjection. And this is the method of operation of Ha Elohim. This is why his most beloved always come down in states of abjection and rejection and humiliation, etc. Because he wants to test the heart of his people to see whether they truly want to follow him and whether they truly love him. This is the case with Mashiach ben Yosef. He was a man of sorrows, of rejection. He was despised. People looked upon him as a despised, rejected man. Elohim did this purposefully to test the Israelites' heart, to see whether they would still love and accept him, even though he's in this state. He didn't present Mashiach as this very powerful, handsome, king or prince that he is. And so likewise, this book has been presented in the same manner, in a very humble manner, to test your heart. Are you truly an initiate? Are you truly a holy adept that is a true seeker of the holy truth and the holy wisdoms of the kingdom of Elohim? So if you are, you can go below to the link and purchase my book. Thank you. Shalom.